Hey everyone, my name is Sheldon Barracks, and this is the Smileless Monday podcast. I am your host, Sheldon Barracks, and this podcast is part of the Smileless Monday platform. We have an online newsletter, we have an online platform of articles, all within the Substack universe. This podcast is part of that universe, so I thank you for joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about how to attract the best opportunities. So let me rephrase that. Become a magnet. How to attract the best career opportunities. Now, like I said in my previous episode, this podcast is a somewhat of a direct piece of my weekly Smileless Monday newsletter. So my Smileless Monday newsletter is each week I drop gems and I drop discussions around the area of positive workplace psychology, career wellness at work, anything else in between. The whole concept of the Smileless Monday platform is to inspire and engage people that work a 9 to 5, work a steady job, are in a career in the corporate world, not just in the corporate world, but in any sort of line of work where you are working for somebody. This is a place where you can find inspiration, you can find motivation, you can find awareness of how unique the opportunities you that are around you, even though you may not be aware of it. So Smallest Monday is simply, hey, it's Monday. This is a great day to kick off the week. Let's kick it off with motivation. Let's kick it off with a smile. Let's kick it off with empowering you to understand your worth and your wealth where you are right now, that you don't need to change anything. You can find your wealth and your worth in your role right now, where you are right now, and you can live an abundant life where you are. And even if where you are right now is not where you want to be, you can still appreciate where you are right now. So this platform is all about appreciating what we do, who we are, no matter what the role, no matter what the job. This platform, Smileless Monday, is all about appreciating the work that everybody does. So I like to talk about, topics surrounding, like I said, workplace psychology, career development, also, like I said, career wellness at well-being at work. And so today, this is episode 2 of the Smileless Monday podcast. And like I said, this podcast is all about connecting back to and doing a deep dive into the topics I discuss in my newsletter. And so last week's newsletter was called "Become a Magnet: How to Attract the Best Career Opportunities." So how do we do that? How do we become a magnet? How do we attract the best opportunities? So, I'm not just going to read out my article here. That doesn't make sense. You can read it for yourself. I'm going to do what I like to do in this podcast and this YouTube video is do kind of a deep dive, my thoughts behind the article, my thoughts behind why I even wanted to put it together in the first place, and everything in between. So, you know, uh, I think it's easy to see, right now, or on an ongoing basis, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of layoffs from big organizations. Organizations have to cut costs because they're not doing so well. And so usually they drop the hammer and hundreds of people, if not thousands, lose their jobs. And there's mass layoffs we're hearing. And it's a cycle. There's a couple of years where we're not hearing as much. And then all of a sudden we're hearing back to back to back cycles of large companies laying off workers. So let's give you guys some stats. Since January 1st, 2023, over 5,000 companies have announced mass layoffs. This year, January 1st, over 3,200 companies have announced mass layoffs. So here are some of the top companies: City Financial, yes, Unilever, Tesla, uh, Bell Media, and a few others. So again, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Mass layoffs is part of the world we live in today, and that's just the reality, right? And that's why a lot of people have left the workplace or left kind of a job or a 9 to 5 and have started their own thing. And they say, hey, listen, I'm going to try my luck doing my own thing instead of waiting for myself to get laid off. That's not everyone's reality. Not everyone wants to do that, and again, that's why I created this platform. This platform is for those who feel comfortable where they're at and they want to supercharge their career one way or another. Can they find opportunities where they're working? How do they find opportunities elsewhere? How do they enjoy the work they're in right now and change the psychology of work that's been plaguing 9 to 5ers on social media for years, right? Yeah, 9 to 5. Like I said, I work a 9 to 5. I love it. A lot of opportunities for me to do amazing things. I have a lot of autonomy, and through this podcast and through my newsletter, I'll talk more and more about that. But today, I want to talk about how to be a magnet, attract the best career opportunities, because at some point or another, you are going to have to build yourself to the point where you are attracting those opportunities instead of chasing. I want to be perfectly honest with you. That doesn't mean this is not trying to say that you shouldn't get up and you shouldn't go out there and look for opportunities. That's not what I'm saying. And when I wrote this article, I didn't allude to that as much because I really wanted to focus on the attraction piece, and we'll talk about that. But I want to make that clear. This is why I like to deep dive in this podcast when after I write something, because sometimes some things can be misconstrued, and I want people to understand my point of view, my mentality when I write these articles. So it doesn't mean you don't have to do the work. If you are looking for a new opportunity, you got to draft your resume. You got to research how to draft a strong resume. You have to do an interview preparation. You need to go out there and look for opportunities on all the job boards and databases that you know of. You need to do your networking to make sure you're contacting people and asking, hey, is there an opportunity at your place of work at this time? If not, here's my newsletter. Keep me posted. You got to do the work. You got to go out there and network. You got to go out there, canvas. You got to go out there and send your emails. You got to do the work. By me saying become a magnet, how to attract the best career opportunities, what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to say you don't do the work. What I'm trying to say is when you become a magnet, you often do attract the best opportunities for you. And so you chasing after something that you may not know is a good fit for you. And I'm going to talk about that today as we go along. So like I said, multiple companies last year, this year, mass layoffs. We're hearing that we're always at the cusp of a recession. We've been hearing that for almost a year and a half now since COVID has kind of died down. And I think there's been a trickle effect. Someone said, if McDonald's is struggling, then we're at if people are struggling. And I tend to agree with that. But yeah, in my article, I talked again, foundation of my article is based on my own experiences. And I'll tell you a little story about what I experienced at one of my roles years and years ago. And I wrote about this a little bit about this in my book Unstuck Mondays. And so, by the way, you can get Unstuck Mondays free, a free digital copy, once you subscribe to my Smile It's Monday newsletter. The link will be in the details on the YouTube channel. And if you are on this podcast, it should be in the details of the podcast too as well. Just follow the link, and you will get your free copy of Unstuck Mondays. So, yeah, I wanted to get back to a story of myself and my career. I think will be very helpful for people, and it was the inspiration kind of behind this newsletter this week, Become a Magnet: How to Attract the Best Career Opportunities. So, years and years ago, I was working in a role on a big company in the industry in Canada, and one of the probably leading companies within the industry within Canada. And I had a great role. I liked my role. I was able to, work with awesome customers, I had amazing colleagues. We had fun every day. I grew my skill sets. I had iconic customers in the automotive industry, tire brands. I'm not going to say who they were, but they were huge. And just think of a blimp, and then think of fire. I know you got it. A bridge and fire. Yeah, so I worked with two amazing tire companies, and amazing time. They were great customers. Like I said, I had great colleagues I worked with. But eventually, I started to. It started to come mundane. It was the same thing every day. It was fun. It became easy, and I felt very confident. And actually, I started to gain more automotive customers. Another large car company that's well known, and some others. But at the end of the day, I knew for myself that I wanted to change. More likely, I saw what was going on within our company. I knew that the automotive team there's three of us, and the the consumer packaged goods team, which is called CPG, which is, excuse me, grocery and retail, was growing large. We had huge customers. I mean, huge. You think of some of the biggest CPG companies, consumer packaged goods companies, we had them as clients. And I realized that department was growing. It was easy to see. It was easy to see that we had three people on our team. They had triple, quadruple that many people, if not more. You could see that they were making a lot of money within the organization through those customers. You see that the customer base is growing. You see a lot of fun they were having. It was easy to see for anyone in the organization that that team was growing, and that's where anybody wanted to be. I tend to agree with that. I wanted to be there, right? I'm one human. I saw what was going on there. I saw the growth. I saw the opportunity to work with amazing customers, large customers, and I wanted in on that action. Mind you, around that time, I was about in my late 20s. So I was very young, ambitious. I was married at the time. I had two young kids. So I knew that I had to move into a department where I can be more valuable. And so first thing I did was I went to my boss and I said, like, listen, like, how do I get in that department? Simply, like, how can I get there? I want to work in that department. That's where my next best move should come from. And my manager at the time told me, there's no opportunities now, Sheldon, but if an opportunity comes up, I'll let you know. You can apply for that job. And so that was cool. And I had a great manager, I believed in everything he said. To Matthew Bork, amazing, amazing manager. He was my manager 2 cycles. And so again, I'll talk about that again. But he's a major manager. I believed every word he said, but for me, it wasn't enough. I had to do something else for myself. So I had a good relationship with some of the individuals on the team, and I decided to go over there and ask them, hey, listen, I want to be in this department. I mean, you guys are growing, you guys are having fun, you guys are working with amazing customers. Can I sit with you and can I just mirror and understand what you guys do in this department different than what we do in ours so I can have an understanding of what you guys do? So when it comes time for an opportunity to show up, I know exactly what I'm going into. So I want to stop here and let you understand the key of what I just said. I didn't just want to go there because of the exterior things I saw. Fun team, growing team, great customers. I actually want to see what they do, right? So I wanted to see what a day to day looked like, what it felt like. So what I would do is I would do my work, I would maximize my time, and I would leave about an hour, 30 minutes every day to go over to my colleague and sit with him. And he was gracious enough to kind of walk me through what they did. And so this happened for a few weeks, right? We got back and forth, and I got more comfortable with understanding what they did. And the more and more I understood what they did, the more and more I wanted to be a part of that team. Long story short, an opportunity did come up, and and this is where things get crazy. So an opportunity did come up, and we got a new customer in that department, in the CPG department. We got actually two new customers. And so when the new customer came, automatically my manager said, "Listen, I've seen your work in the automotive department. I know that you are passionate about, you've talked to me about moving. I feel that you have the skill set. You've already been sitting with the team, so I know you'll be a good fit. Do you want to move over there?" What do you think I said? Of course, I said yes. So I moved over to that team, had my very own client. It was a brand new client. To this day, I still talk with some of the people online through messages, and we still connect. And I love those people. They're like family to me. Great clients. Had a lot of great memories with them, which some of them I shared in my book Unstuck Mondays, and I can share a few more when there's time. But I want to go back to when I picked up that client. So when I picked up the clients, I think it was about a month later, the 2008 financial crisis hit. So in our organization, I don't want to take too much time on this because I want to talk about some other stuff, but in our organization, majority of the people, a lot of people, if you remember back then, a lot of companies, again, were having mass layoffs, right? Or they're cutting down shifts, and they're doing kind of like a weekly schedule for people. So that's what we did at our organization. A large majority of people had to have a rotating schedule. So they had to cut one day. And by cutting one payday for, a large number of employees, of course, companies were saving money. It was a financial crisis. So they had no choice. They didn't want to cut bodies, they didn't want to cut heads. I think our company did eventually cut some heads, but at the end of the day, we were able to retain the majority of the workforce by doing a schedule where everyone had to take a day off during the week except for one department. Guess which department that was? Yes, you're right. The CPG department with the large retail customers did not lay off one body and did not have one body go on a rotating schedule. I was on that team by the skin of my teeth by a month. So you have to understand, a young person like myself, married, I'm taking care of my family, young kids, young wife. I could not lose one payday. And because I moved over to that team, I did not miss one payday because that team. was making so much business regardless of the financial crisis. We were still bringing so much business through consumer packaged goods, like food, mainly food products, that we couldn't afford to break operations by laying off anybody or having people miss a day. We needed a full team in house. So I missed that by the skin of my teeth. To be honest with you, to this day, I think about how that all transpired, and it's just amazing. I tell this story because it's really, really reflective of what I talk about in my newsletter, Become a Magnet, How to Attract the Best Opportunities, because you you have to do something within yourself to attract that. Like I didn't just wait for someone to tap on my shoulder to say, "Hey, I've seen the work you've been doing, and I think you're going to be amazing at this, and I want you to join my team or join this team." That happens. That does happen. Um, let me backtrack because I'm kind of I don't want to confuse things for you. Yes, you have to pursue opportunities. However, doing certain things helps you to attract the right opportunities. If I did not go to my boss, if I did not do work in a certain way, if I did not have the reputation within my workplace, if I didn't understand the skill sets, what it took to work in that field on that team, I wouldn't have attracted that opportunity. It was more than just me asking my boss and going sitting with my colleague. It was other things that I did to really, really allow that company to see that I was the right fit, where they didn't really need to do have applications or interviews. They knew that I was the right guy for the job, and I attracted that opportunity. And that's happened multiple times in my career. And the company I work for, a very large CPG company, that same thing happened. I was working in the organization, my old company, and someone who had left my company went to this large CPG, called and said that I think Sheldon should apply for this role because I think he'll be a perfect fit. You have to understand, the person that called was somebody that was senior level, I think two places above my boss, my boss's boss's boss. I think she was a senior director, VP, and I don't have no idea how she thought to ask my boss about me to apply for the role. And I thought that was just amazing. And of course, I applied for the role, and everything worked out, and I was able to move industries. And that's something I'm going to talk about on my newsletter, on this podcast too, as well. But again, when you are doing certain things to attract doing a when you're doing things the right way, when you're doing the right things, uh, oftentimes, yes, you still have to go looking, but oftentimes you're going to find that people are going to be asking for you. People are going to be are going to be sending you opportunities because they know your reputation, they know your work ethic, they know the things you've done. You've made yourself valuable. You've kind of attracted, opportunities to you through the work you've done, the person you've become, the relationships you've built, so many different things. And the things I've talked about on my newsletter, one of them is, again, be a traveler within your organization. I went over to the guy working in the team and I said, "What is it about this team that people love? Tell me, how you guys have so much fun? How do you guys work with these large companies? What does day to day look like?" Just me being in that atmosphere. Even if my boss went over there and said, "Hey, who do you think Sheldon's a good fit?" What do you think they're going to tell him? They're probably going to say yes, because I was over there showing interest outside of my regular work, not looking for anything else in return, but just to listen and hear and gain knowledge. Article always I talk about volunteer for big projects. Listen, one of the best things you could do in an organization is volunteer time on councils, other big projects outside of your main work. A lot of people said, "Okay, why am I going to do work when I'm not going to be paid for it?" That's fine. You don't have to do work if you don't have to do that. I'm talking to the people that actually want to do more than just what they are, or are ready for the next move. You have to invest something that you might not get a return right away, right? So one of the best things you can ever do about building kind of that kind of personal image or personal brand, or attracting the right opportunities, is volunteering for big projects or being on councils. For no other reason, you get to network within the organization with other departments. And oftentimes, if you're on a council, you could have a front office job, or you can have what's it called, just a regular low level job, like the corporate world is not following right now. But you could have a regular job, but you'll be in that council, and all of a sudden you're connecting with VPs. All of a sudden you're connecting with your directors. All of a sudden you're connecting with managers and other departments. Now you're getting to collaborate. You're getting to network. You're getting to know them better. You're getting to know their worlds, and some of that's going to rub off on you, and you get to build these relationships. And again, you become more valuable. You get to become a known commodity where you are, and people underestimate the power of that. They think that if you work hard in your own you put your head down, you work hard at your in your position, someone's going to notice and you'll get an opportunity. That happens. However, doing things like being a traveling organization, volunteering for big projects, being on councils, volunteering to just be in different departments and learn from different departments, which will make your job better. uh, doing these things are gonna attract the right opportunities to you just through conversations, opportunities through you learning different skill sets and understanding how different processes work within the organization. The most valuable person in the organization is the one that understands how the entire operation works within the organization. Where I am right now, my one of the things I want to do is understand as many roles as possible, how my organization makes money, how the organization goes from producing a product to selling a product, marketing a product. I want to learn as many things as possible. And I'm currently in a role where I'm sitting with marketing, I'm sitting with IT, I'm sitting with, facility services. I'm sitting with so many different departments. Now I'm getting to learn and understand how this business operates so many different levels. Will that make me valuable? I think so. I'll leave that up to you to determine for yourselves. Obviously, when you travel within your organization and when you volunteer for big projects, you're going to build the right network. And I'm not going to go much into networking because I think a lot of you understand the power of networking. People think networking is just for entrepreneurs and people that are building their own business or people at a very high level. No matter what level you're at, network within your organization, network outside of your organization. And I'm kind of jumping here a little bit because I talk about in the newsletter about building your personal brand at work and how that's parts building your personal building your brand inside work and building your brand outside work, doing all these things to let people understand what you're about, what you're passionate about, what you care about, what is your what are you crazy about wanting to do, for lack of better terms. Sometimes I'm on this podcast and words aren't coming to me, so you got to forgive me. But your aspirations, let people know if you have a skill set and you are working in a certain category or department within your workplace. Don't limit your network just to the people that you work with. Go outside, find industry events. Don't wait for the company to pay for it. Go yourself. Pay it yourself. Do online webinars for people within your industry. When you come back into your workplace and you talk about things that you've learned at a webinar or a industry event that no one knows there, that will make you valuable. That's going to attract the right opportunities. And mind you, it's going to be twofold now because now you're attracting the right opportunities outside inside work because you're giving all this information that you've learned, and then vice versa. You've networked outside of work, and now people will remember your name because they saw you at this industry event, they saw you at this webinar, they saw you interacting with people online, LinkedIn and other media platforms. So I talk a lot about that in my newsletter, and I think I was very passionate about this topic because you see these mass layoffs. A lot of times people are like, "Oh my God, I need to get out of, the corporate life. I need to get out of the 9 to 5. I need to start now thinking about my own thing." Source of income is very important. I'm working on a few streams myself, but my main stream of income is my job. And for a lot of people, for whatever reason, whether region they live in, for their life status currently, just don't have the opportunity to do a lot of things, and their main source of income is their job. So they want to maximize how much they're getting out of their job day. They just don't have the opportunity, and they would like to someday, and they want to get there. That's why I talk about, with all this going on right now, and we're at the cusp of a recession. I want to make it clear that we need to recession proof ourselves. And I'm not saying that we do all these things and we're never going to be out of a job. They can call me tomorrow and say that they've downsized, and I could be out of a job tomorrow. If I have a huge network that I've made within my organization. I have a huge network of people that I've made outside of my organization who know who I am, know what I can do. They know what type of person I am. And that doesn't automatically mean I'm going to get a job tomorrow, but the chances of me getting a another role sooner than later are pretty high because I've done these things. And so when you get a chance, if you've read this or not, I think the biggest thing, I want to wrap up with this podcast and this YouTube video is, I didn't talk about it in here, but the law of attraction is a big thing. There's a lot of big books about it. No books about the law of attraction. You can look it up. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but I talk about become a magnet and how to attract the best career opportunities. That's pretty much, I'm jumping into concepts related to the law of attraction, and look it up when you get a chance. Tons of people talk about it. There are books I'm sure you can Google it, you can read it, but that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about not being a victim to everything you're hearing, whether it's at work, within his with family people, with your family, with your friends, within, the media. It's time that we took our power back and we did something about our opportunities. So wherever you're sitting, whatever job you're sitting in, start moving around your company, start having conversations in your company, start joining councils, start finding time to sit with departments. You don't have to be like me, who sat, like, I think it was, I said it was every day, I think it was once a week, but find time to sit with the other departments and figure out what they do. Be interested in what's happening in your organization, into your time, which means you have to be efficient with your own work to save up time to do that. And I understand that's not always possible, so I get it for those who are saying, oh, I just don't have the time. Like, I have to do work. And I'm not saying to do every day, but I'm saying if you are desperate enough to make a change and to build this personal brand and to build that attraction within yourself and build this reputation, you will do what it takes to find 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour to sit in another department and find out what people do. When you're outside of work, like I said, find ways to find out what your industry is doing. If you're in finance, what's going on in the financial industry? If you're in architecture or design, find out what's going on in that industry. If you're in marketing, again, do the same. If you are in logistics, do the same, etc. So yeah, to build an attraction, you need to do the right things. And let me just go over it again. This is coming straight from my newsletter. Number one, be a traveler within your organization. Move around your organization. Talk to people. Find out what other opportunities may be coming up. Find out what's going on within your organization and other opportunities there are to join councils, committees, that certain thing, volunteer time, and all of that. Volunteer for big projects. Be the first to put up your hand to be a part of a team doing a special project. A lot of good things that happen within there. Skills you can build, a lot of new people you can work with, and that goes into building the right network within your organization. Continue to build your personal brand. Use LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn to build my personal brand. I don't use a lot of other social media networks consistently as I use LinkedIn to build my personal brand, because when my time is up at my current place of employment, I know that I have a strong brand to put out there and to attract the right opportunities. I've been fortunate enough to work in two different industries, and I have wonderful networks in each side. Again, build your personal brand outside of work. When you're on you know uh when you're on LinkedIn, you're building your personal brand outside of work. And I kind of got confused. So the first one was build your personal brand at work, which is that whole traveling within, right reputation, talk to the right people, walk with empathy, walk with, be a leader. You don't have to be a manager to be a leader. That's building your personal brand. Be a reliable person, be a person that's highly skilled, that brings knowledge from outside and brings it inside. That's building your personal brand. And then building your personal brand outside of work is that whole concept of going on LinkedIn, building your brand on social media, doing a YouTube channel, doing a podcast, going to industry events and networking there, so people understand that they see you a lot of times at these events and they see you on these webinars. Build your brand that way. The job market is super unpredictable, but we need to do things to attract the right opportunities and make ourselves valuable. That is the key. If you forget everything I said, and hopefully you don't, and if you do, rewatch this or read the newsletter, but if you forget anything I said, remember this: make yourself valuable. That is the key to everything. The key to success in your career, growing your career, finding more opportunities, is making yourself valuable. I've seen that happen time and time again in my career. That I've always, the number one rule I have in my career is that I've always wanted to move roles every 3 years. And in those 3 years, I go from learning a role, learning the skills with that role, working with that in that role, and then elevating myself through that role and elevating that role and whatever I'm supposed to do in there. And then after that, I've established something that someone that comes behind me can go right into, and there's already been processes and things that have already been developed that they can go into with ease and continue where I've left off, and now I can move on to something else, and that's I've learned skills there that I could take to the other role, and it goes on and on and on. So in my career, I've built value by people in different departments, building my external network, building my own personal brand, everything else I've written in this newsletter. So again, that's all I have for you today on this edition of the Smallest Monday podcast. I really appreciate you listening. Go out there and make yourself attractive to the best opportunities. You want the best opportunities, not just any opportunities. You want the best opportunities. So again, be a magnet, attract the best opportunities to yourself. I'm Sheldon Barracks. Thanks for joining. Have an awesome day.